When search and rescue dog Storm wouldn't leave an abandoned warehouse despite direct orders from her handler, Officer Mike Torres thought his partner was having an off day. But Storm had never disobeyed a command in her 4 years of service. Her success rate in finding missing persons was flawless. What Storm was detecting in the depths of that crumbling warehouse would expose a multi-state kidnapping ring and lead to the most shocking rescue operation in state history. The October rain had been falling for 3 days straight, turning the industrial district of Millbrook into a maze of flooded streets and abandoned buildings. Officer Mike Torres pulled his police SUV up to the loading dock of Riverside Manufacturing, a warehouse that had been empty for over a decade. Beside him, Storm, a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois with the build of an athlete and the nose of a miracle worker, sat perfectly alert in her specialized K9 compartment. Her dark eyes tracked every shadow and movement outside the vehicle, her body language screaming readiness for action. Storm wasn't just any search and rescue dog. She was a third-generation working dog, whose mother had served with the Coast Guard and whose grandmother had worked disaster sites after 9/11. Storm herself had found 47 missing persons in 4 years of service, including 6 people buried alive after a factory collapse. She had never given up on a search, and never given a false alert. "All right, girl," Mike said, opening Storm's compartment. "We've got a missing kid, and this is our last lead. Make it count." 8-year-old Jennifer Walsh had disappeared 3 days ago while walking home from school in downtown Millbrook. Her backpack had been found 2 miles away, near the abandoned industrial district. The FBI was treating it as an abduction, and every available resource was being deployed to find her. Storm jumped from the vehicle and immediately began working, her nose scanning the air around the warehouse perimeter. The building was massive, a 4-story concrete structure that had once housed a textile manufacturing operation. Now it stood empty, its windows broken, its parking lot cracked and overgrown with weeds. But the truly shocking thing is, Storm's behavior changed the moment she approached the main entrance. Instead of her usual methodical search pattern, she became intensely focused on a specific area near the loading dock doors. Mike watched his partner work, noting the subtle changes in her body language. Storm's tail had gone rigid, her ears were pinned forward, and she was making the soft whining sound that meant she had detected human scent. "What is it, Storm?" Mike asked, though he already knew the answer. Storm had found something. The dog led Mike around to a side entrance, where a heavy steel door stood slightly ajar. The door should have been secured. The building was supposed to be completely empty and locked up tight. Mike called for backup before approaching the entrance. Standard protocol when investigating potential kidnapping sites was to never go in alone, especially when dealing with buildings that could hide multiple suspects. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because when Mike pushed the door open wider, Storm bolted inside without waiting for his command. "Storm, wait," Mike called, but the dog had already disappeared into the darkness of the warehouse interior. In 4 years of partnership, Storm had never disobeyed a direct command. Something inside that building had triggered every instinct she possessed. Mike drew his weapon and followed Storm into the warehouse, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. The interior was a maze of abandoned equipment, empty shipping containers, and debris from years of neglect. But Storm was nowhere to be seen. "Storm," Mike called again, his voice echoing off the concrete walls. From somewhere deep in the building came a single bark. Storm's alert signal that meant she had found what she was looking for. Mike followed the sound deeper into the warehouse, past rows of empty shelving and rusted machinery. The air smelled of dampness, decay, and something else, something that made his police instincts flare with warning. He found Storm at the far end of the building, standing beside what appeared to be a maintenance access door leading to the basement level. The dog was in full alert mode, every muscle tensed, her eyes locked on the door as if she could see through the steel to whatever lay beyond. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because when backup officers arrived and they opened that basement door, the sound that emerged wasn't mechanical or empty. It was human, small, frightened, and very much alive. Detective Sarah Chen arrived at the warehouse 15 minutes after Mike's backup call, bringing with her a tactical team and FBI agents who had been coordinating the search for Jennifer Walsh. What they found in the basement would expand their investigation far beyond a single missing child. Storm had led them to a basement that shouldn't have existed according to the building's blueprints. The space had been carved out of the foundation, reinforced with steel beams, and divided into multiple rooms. It was sophisticated, well-planned, and clearly designed to hold people against their will. This isn't some opportunistic kidnapping, Agent Rebecca Martinez told the assembled team. Someone has invested serious time and money into creating this facility. The basement contained 6 separate rooms, each equipped with basic furniture, overhead lighting, and ventilation systems. 5 of the rooms were empty, but the 6th contained Jennifer Walsh, weak, dehydrated but alive. Jennifer was rushed to the hospital, while forensic teams began processing what was clearly a much larger criminal operation. The basement facility was designed to hold multiple victims, and evidence suggested it had been used for that purpose for several years. Wait a second, don't miss this detail, because Storm's investigation of the facility led to the discovery of personal items belonging to 7 other children who had gone missing from various locations across 3 states over the past 2 years. "We're not looking at one kidnapping," Agent Martinez announced, after reviewing the evidence. "We're looking at a multi-state trafficking operation that's been using this facility as a way station." The personal items found in the basement included backpacks, shoes, jewelry, and clothing belonging to children who had disappeared from towns up to 300 miles away. Some of the items were recent, others dated back over 18 months. Mike and Storm remained in the basement while forensic teams worked, with Storm continuing to show intense interest in specific areas. Her behavior suggested that she was detecting scent trails that could provide crucial information about the operation. "She's tracking multiple different scents," Mike explained to Agent Martinez. "Storm can distinguish between individual people and follow trails even when they're days or weeks old. She's telling us that a lot of different children have been through here." Storm led investigators to a section of the basement where the concrete floor showed signs of recent construction. Ground-penetrating radar revealed additional chambers beneath the current floor level, suggesting that the facility had been expanded multiple times over the years. But the truly shocking thing is, the investigation revealed that the warehouse wasn't just being used to hold victims, it was part of a distribution network that moved children between different locations across multiple states. Computer equipment found in the basement contained detailed logs of victim movements, pickup and delivery schedules, and communications between operators in different cities. The trafficking network was vast, professional, and had been operating undetected for years. Agent Martinez called for federal task force assistance as the scope of the operation became clear. "We're going to need resources from at least 6 states," she told FBI headquarters. "This network is bigger than anything we've encountered in this region." The FBI's analysis of evidence from the warehouse basement revealed a sophisticated trafficking network that had been operating across the Midwest for over 3 years. The Millbrook facility was just one node in a network that included similar operations in Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan. Storm had uncovered more than a missing child case. She had exposed one of the largest child trafficking operations in the region's history. The network used abandoned industrial facilities to hold victims temporarily, while coordinating their movement between different locations. They chose these buildings specifically because they're in areas where people don't pay attention, Agent Martinez explained during a task force briefing. Industrial districts, abandoned warehouses, places where unusual activity wouldn't be noticed. The computer logs found in the basement detailed the movement of over 50 children through the network over a 2-year period. Victims were abducted from their home communities, transported to facilities like the Millbrook warehouse, and then moved to other locations based on orders from buyers. Jennifer Walsh had been intended as the next victim to be moved, but Storm's detection had interrupted the process before the transfer could take place. Her rescue had not only saved her life but had provided law enforcement with the evidence needed to dismantle the entire network. Mike and Storm worked with federal agents to trace scent trails throughout the warehouse facility. Storm's ability to distinguish between different individuals allowed investigators to determine how many victims had been held in each room and approximately when they had been moved. "Storm is giving us information that we couldn't get any other way," Agent Martinez said. "Her scent detection is more precise than any forensic technique we have." It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because Storm's continued investigation led to the discovery of a hidden communication system that allowed the network operators to coordinate with facilities in other states. The communication system revealed active operations in 5 other cities, with victims currently being held at facilities similar to the Millbrook warehouse. The FBI coordinated simultaneous raids on all known locations, leading to the rescue of 23 additional children and the arrest of 31 suspects. The network had been using a sophisticated system of coded communications, false identification documents, and legitimate-looking transportation services to move victims without detection. They had infiltrated trucking companies, bus services, and even ride-sharing networks to facilitate their operations. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because the investigation revealed that the network had connections to similar operations in other regions, suggesting a national trafficking infrastructure that law enforcement had never fully recognized. The coordinated raids on trafficking facilities began at dawn on a Tuesday morning, with FBI teams hitting targets simultaneously in 6 cities. The operation, codenamed Stormfront in honor of the dog whose detection had started the investigation, was one of the largest anti-trafficking operations in federal history. Storm and Mike were assigned to the Chicago facility, where intelligence suggested that 5 children were being held in a converted warehouse, similar to the Millbrook location. Storm's success in Millbrook had made her invaluable for detecting hidden victims and concealed spaces. "This is what we trained for," Mike told Storm as they approached the Chicago warehouse with the tactical team. "Find them, girl. Bring them home." The Chicago facility was more sophisticated than Millbrook, with multiple levels and hidden passages designed to confuse law enforcement searches. But Storm navigated the maze-like interior with confidence, leading agents directly to the areas where victims were being held. In Chicago, Storm's alerts led to the rescue of 6 children, one more than intelligence had predicted. Her ability to detect human scent in concealed spaces had uncovered a victim that the network's own records hadn't accounted for. The simultaneous raids across multiple states resulted in the rescue of 31 children total and the arrest of 47 suspects. The network's leadership was captured, their communication systems were dismantled, and their financial operations were frozen. But the truly shocking thing is, the rescued children provided testimony that led to the discovery of additional network facilities that hadn't been identified through electronic surveillance. Many of the rescued victims had been held at multiple facilities during their captivity, and their descriptions of different locations helped FBI agents identify at least 6 additional sites that were raided in follow-up operations. Storm's role in the expanded operations became crucial as her detection abilities were used to locate victims in increasingly sophisticated hiding places. The network had learned to conceal victims in spaces designed to defeat traditional search techniques, but they hadn't accounted for Storm's extraordinary scent detection capabilities. Wait a second, don't miss this detail, because Storm's work led to the development of new search protocols that other K-9 units began using to detect concealed human trafficking operations. The Storm protocol emphasized the importance of trusting K-9 instincts even when they seemed to contradict available intelligence, and it included techniques for using scent detection to map victim movement patterns through trafficking facilities. The prosecution of the trafficking network took place over 18 months in federal courts across 6 states. The evidence collected from the facilities, combined with testimony from rescued victims, provided prosecutors with detailed documentation of the network's operations. Storm attended many of the trial proceedings, serving as both a witness to her discoveries and an emotional support presence for victim families. Her calm demeanor and professional bearing helped demonstrate the reliability of K-9 detection work to juries. "Without Storm's detection, we never would have found the Millbrook facility," Mike testified during the trial of the network's leadership. Her instincts and abilities saved Jennifer Walsh's life and led to the rescue of dozens of other children. The network's operators had believed their facilities were undetectable, but Storm's success had shattered their confidence in their concealment methods. Several defendants pleaded guilty rather than face trial, providing additional information about the network's operations. Marcus Webb, identified as the network's regional coordinator, received a life sentence without possibility of parole. During his sentencing hearing, he expressed amazement at how a single dog had unraveled years of careful planning. "I never thought a dog could detect what we had hidden so well," Webb said during his allocution. "We planned for law enforcement, for surveillance, for informants. We never planned for a dog like Storm." The trials resulted in convictions for all 47 defendants, with sentences ranging from 25 years to life in prison. The financial assets of the network were seized and used to establish a victim support fund and to expand K-9 anti-trafficking programs. What you've seen so far is nothing, because Storm's success in dismantling the trafficking network led to federal legislation expanding the use of K-9 units in anti-trafficking operations nationwide. The Storm Act provided funding for specialized K-9 training programs, established protocols for using scent detection in trafficking investigations, and created a national database for sharing information about K-9 detected trafficking indicators. 3 years after Storm's discovery at the Millbrook warehouse, Her impact on anti-trafficking operations continued to grow. The techniques developed during the network investigation had been adopted by law enforcement agencies across the country, leading to dozens of additional rescues. Jennifer Walsh, the first child Storm had rescued, had recovered fully from her ordeal and become an advocate for missing children. She often appeared at events honoring Storm's work, crediting the dog with saving not just her life, but the lives of all the children who were rescued through the investigation. "Storm didn't just find me," Jennifer said during Storm's award ceremony. "She found all of us. She's the reason families got their children back." Mike and Storm had become specialists in anti-trafficking operations, working with federal agencies to investigate suspected trafficking sites across multiple states. Their success rate in locating hidden victims was unprecedented, with Storm's detection abilities leading to over 200 rescues in 3 years. You won't believe it, but Storm's genetic lineage had become highly sought after by law enforcement agencies, with several of her offspring showing similar extraordinary detection abilities. 3 of Storm's puppies were working with different K9 units, and all had shown exceptional success in trafficking detection work. Researchers studying Storm's abilities believed that her extraordinary scent detection was partly genetic, leading to improved breeding programs for anti-trafficking K9 units. The University of Wisconsin had established a research program studying Storm's techniques, working to understand how her detection methods could be replicated and taught to other dogs. The program had become a model for K9 training centers worldwide. But the truly shocking thing is, Storm's work had inspired changes in how law enforcement approached missing children cases, with K9 units now being deployed earlier and more systematically in kidnapping investigations. The success of Storm's detection had demonstrated that dogs could locate victims in situations where traditional search methods failed, leading to new protocols that emphasized K9 capabilities in the critical first hours of missing child cases. Storm received the American Kennel Club's Award for Canine Excellence in a ceremony attended by over 500 law enforcement officers, victim families, and canine handlers from across the country. The award recognized not just her individual achievements, but her role in changing how law enforcement combats human trafficking. "Storm represents the very best of what working dogs can achieve," the police chief said during his presentation speech. "Her instincts, combined with her handlers' trust and dedication, have saved dozens of lives and prevented immeasurable suffering." Mike's acceptance speech on Storm's behalf was emotional and powerful. "Storm has taught me that sometimes the most important decisions in law enforcement come from trusting instincts that go beyond human understanding. She sees things we miss, and she never gives up on finding those who need our help." The ceremony was attended by many of the children Storm had helped rescue, along with their families. For many of them, seeing Storm receive recognition was an important part of their healing process, acknowledging the dog who had given them their freedom back. Jennifer Walsh, now 11 years old and thriving, presented Storm with a special collar made by all the rescued children. "This is from all of us," she told Storm. "Thank you for never giving up on finding us." It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because Storm's story inspired a new generation of canine handlers and anti-trafficking investigators to pursue specialized training in victim detection work. Law enforcement academies across the country began incorporating Storm's techniques into their canine training programs, and federal agencies established specialized units focused on using canine detection to combat human trafficking. The impact extended beyond law enforcement, with Storm's story inspiring increased community awareness about trafficking indicators and the importance of reporting suspicious activity involving children. Today, 6 years after Storm's detection at the Millbrook warehouse, her legacy continues to influence anti-trafficking operations worldwide. The techniques she pioneered have been adopted by law enforcement agencies in 15 countries, leading to hundreds of rescues globally. Storm, now 10 years old, continues to work actively with Mike, though their caseload has been reduced to account for her age. She serves as a trainer for younger dogs, and as a consultant on complex trafficking cases that require her specialized expertise. Storm has shown no signs of slowing down, Mike explains. Her instincts are as sharp as ever, and her experience makes her invaluable for training other dogs and handlers. The Storm Foundation, established with donations from grateful families and law enforcement agencies, provides funding for advanced canine training programs and victim support services. The foundation has trained over 300 canine teams in anti-trafficking detection techniques. Wait a second, don't miss this detail, because Storm's offspring have inherited many of her exceptional abilities, with her bloodline becoming the gold standard for anti-trafficking canine breeding programs. The genetic research conducted on Storm and her lineage has provided insights into the hereditary aspects of scent detection abilities, leading to improved breeding programs that have produced a new generation of highly capable anti-trafficking dogs. Storm's image appears in recruitment materials for canine programs and victim advocacy organizations worldwide. Her story has been documented in books, documentaries, and training materials used by law enforcement agencies in multiple countries.
what you've seen so far is nothing, because the lessons learned from Storm's work have prevented countless crimes and transformed how law enforcement approaches human trafficking investigations. The Storm effect describes the increased success rate in trafficking cases when K-9 units are deployed early in investigations. Departments that have implemented Storm protocol report a 300% increase in victim recovery rates and a 250% increase in suspect apprehension rates. Every day, law enforcement officers around the world begin their shifts knowing that techniques pioneered by a Belgian Malinois named Storm might be the key to saving a child's life that day. Her legacy lives on through the hundreds of K-9 teams trained in her methods and the thousands of potential victims who remain safe because of improved trafficking detection capabilities. Mike and Storm, though both showing their age, continue to take calls when cases require their specialized expertise. Their partnership, forged in training and strengthened through years of successful rescues, remains as strong as ever. The warehouse district in Millbrook, where Storm made her breakthrough discovery, has been transformed into a memorial park honoring trafficking victims and the law enforcement officers who work to protect them. A bronze statue of Storm stands at the entrance, with the inscription, "Heroes come in many forms. Sometimes they have 4 legs and the courage to never give up on those who need them most." Remember, sometimes the most important breakthroughs in law enforcement come not from technology or procedure, but from trusting the instincts of those who see the world through different senses. Storm's story reminds us that heroes work quietly, follow their instincts, and never abandon hope when lives are at stake. Her legacy continues through every child who sleeps safely because someone was brave enough to trust a dog's determination to find the lost. Thank you for following Storm's incredible journey from routine search to life-changing discovery. Her story proves that courage, instinct, and persistence can overcome even the most carefully concealed crimes. We want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed a search and rescue animal making a discovery that seemed impossible? Do you think K-9 units should be used more extensively in missing person cases? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If Storm's story inspired you, please share this video with someone who believes in the power of never giving up on those who need our help. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories of animal heroes who dedicate their lives to protecting others. Sometimes saving lives begins with simply trusting those who refuse to abandon the search when everyone else has given up hope.